the numbers early.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Story Studio podcast. Today, we're going to talk about just kind of having something to say, right? So we're all writing. We leaned away from anything having to do with teaching or anything when we said we're a fiction company, and then we're like, no, we're a story company. And so we are still writing nonfiction books. And over the past few weeks, Sean was on vacation. I was on vacation. Dave was dreaming of vacation where nobody bothered him. And
we were on vacation with our families.
We each wrote a book.
Why?
Without his family.
That's the only way to take a vacation.
Dave says I'm going in vacation, goes into his office, and doesn't come out for a week.
That is perfect.
Dave,
if I were to go on vacation with my family, I would need a vacation after the vacation.
Right. Well, that's true for most of us, but we still enjoy it. Dave, is there a word you use for vacation with your family? Because obviously vacation's not the right word. So what word do you use?
Obligation? I don't know.
Obligation. Okay, that's a good one.
A sentence?
Oh, a sentence. That also works.
Punishment?
So have you ever been away from the house for more than 2 days with your family?
With my wife, yes. Not since my son's been born, I don't think. Have I been? No.
Does your son ever ask awkward questions?
All the time.
Can you give us an example of the latest?
No, I can't.
Has there ever been a question inspired by other people's usernames?
We tried real hard to get him to do a worst show ever, guys. His earphones are broken. And stay tuned next week when there will be a Wolverine in his office. I can't do the show.
I do love that
because my family's home. That's why.
Yeah, we pressed pause on Worst Show Ever so that Dave could just call it whenever he wanted to. And, we'd really pipe.
Well, there's a few times I have, but it's very late and you guys aren't going to get on. You got lives. You actually spend time with your families and do things.
But I know Johnny has explicitly invited you and he's been like,
I'm not going to do that. I don't like to mess with people's schedules.
We specifically, I think it's funny that we pressed pause on WSE the way that Dave pressed pause on that recumbent bike.
Or the Walking Dave.
I've been walking. I just listen to podcasts instead of recording them.
That's actually a better use of your time, probably. But
Dave puts that pause logo over all of his stop buttons in life.
You know what? We should put make a logo for Dave that's like a grizzly bear, but just a pause, and he could just go over everything. Press pause, right?
Pause, like bear pause, and
yeah, right, yeah,
pause. Yeah. Okay, I like that.
All right,
branding.
So my something cool is the return of the Walking Dave.
If I do it, I should call it Return of the Walking.
You should. Well, what's the Fear of the Walking Dave?
Yeah,
it's a natural sequel.
Has it been
Except
longer?
Mine would be good.
Has it been longer since the last episode of The Walking Dave than the entire run of The Walking Dave?
I'm sure. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's amazing.
I like to leave the audience waiting until at least half of them have died of old age.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Or pestilence, right?
Yeah.
So Dave, do you have something cool?
What? No.
It's been 3 weeks. You don't have anything cool.
You guys do. Let me think.
All right. Johnny, do you have anything cool?
We saw Toy Story 4. Did you guys see that?
I did. I've seen it twice, actually.
Yeah, so that was cool. I mean, it was just movie night, but I liked how they were confident enough to end it. I mean, that was clearly that was a definite ending, and it was. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody.
Killed everything.
Yeah, that sort of riding off into the sunset ending is I thought was really pretty brave and clever, and I thought it was good.
The third movie had a nice ending. But it wasn't closure. It didn't have a character arc. It had a nice ending, but not a character arc. This gives Woody a character arc, and it's excellent. I really, really enjoyed it.
And the spork, and I'm sure that everybody.
He was fantastic.
About the spork.
Yeah,
yes,
he was funny.
He was our favorite. I would also say that
Keanu was awesome.
Who was Jono?
Keanu.
Oh, he is awesome. That's amazing. The
That's what Johnny was watching before the show.
we went back the next week, and we on movie night we watched Toy Story 1. We figured we'd watch them all because it's been a while, and animation's come a long way. And I know how groundbreaking Toy Story 1 was. Like, it was a real paradigm shifter. That was the first full motion computer generated film, and it's like, yeah, they do this on commercials now, and it was really interesting to see, because that was that was 95, something like that.
94.
Yeah. So it's been a while, 25 years ish.
Yeah, it's crazy how well story-wise it's held up. We were watching Nemo in a hotel room the other day. It was just on, and it's
the God, right? Not a movie involving
Finding Nemo.
Okay.
And it was funny because I wasn't really paying attention to it, and I heard Haley complaining about the animation in the background, that it looks dated, and well, that's exactly what I thought. Oh, my daughter's kind of a snob. I wasn't paying much attention. And I'm like, no, Nemo's aged really well. And I turned around and I looked at it, and I'm like, wow, that looks like crap. It was a particular scene, and it just, the humans in the dentist's office are a great example. Like, Pixar is just so much better at.
Would you remember the pitch meeting for Toy Story? The Screen Rant pitch meeting?
Yes.
Where he said, there's got to be some humans, right? Well, no, we don't want to have many humans. But it's about humans playing with toys, so there have to be some. Okay, but just so you know, they're the stuff of nightmares.
Right.
Like real humans.
By Finding Nemo, they're like, there are a few people in, they're much, or a few movies in, and they are much better. But still, yeah, it's...
Well, if you thought Finding Nemo had bad people, go back and watch Toy Story again.
Oh, I've seen it recently. It's bad. They improved dramatically, just Toy Story 1 to Toy Story 2. Like the old man model he's great. But in 4, it's mostly lighting and some shading stuff that just, what they do now is just so impressive. And that was a long time ago, 15 years ago, I think. So 15 years in computer animation, that's a lot of years. But I did love Toy Story 4 a lot. My Something Cool is a small show. I don't know that I could recommend it to a lot of people. But
Wait, what was it?
It's a small show. It's on Comedy Central, and my sister introduced it to us while we were in California. And she just said, hey, have you ever seen the show Nathan For You? Have you guys ever heard of Nathan For You?
I've seen it before, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have Comedy Central now, but I did see it. Okay,
so this isn't, Johnny, I don't know that you would want to watch every one of these, but they're pretty funny just to watch a couple of them. And you'll dig the premise. So it's like one of those shows, like Kitchen Nightmares, where an expert goes in to fix a business, and the business owner is supposed to follow all their advice. But it's more of a darkly social experiment. Because the guy, like, in the intro, his name's Nathan, and he's just like real, like, boring and just not much of a personality. And he goes, I went to one of Canada's best business schools and had okay grades. And it shows his report card that's like C- and all these grades. So he knows nothing about business. And he basically goes in and gives these people really terrible business advice to see if they'll follow it, and then see how their business, ratchets up. So, like, for example, there's this antique shop that's in like a really bad part of town with a bunch of dive bars around it. So he suggests that instead of closing early to avoid the drunks, they stay open 24 hours, try to get drunks in to break things, and then they'll make money because all the drunks will break them in. And so we ended up watching like 20 episodes since we saw the first one. And probably my favorite stunt ever is he has this, like, gas is going up in Southern California. So this gas station runs a promotion that you can get a full rebate for your gas. But the fine print, like the shit they make you go through, like you have to climb up this mountain to put up like your rebate in a box. And when you're up there, you have to answer a bunch of riddles. So the people, like, he starts out with this big group of people he takes up in a bus to get their rebate at the top of the mountain. And most people the more riddles they answer, the more hiking they do, they just eventually leave. But there's 3 people who end up staying with him for 2 days to get the rebate. It's just kind of amazing.
And they're in on the joke at that point, right? Like no sane human can think that this is not messing with them.
Well, you can't really tell because the show's editing is superior. Like they just do a really good job of telling the version of the story they want to tell. But you could watch the pilot, and if you like the pilot, you'll like the show. He goes to a yogurt shop and convinces them that what they need is, news, and that controversy is news, and that if they make a poo flavored ice cream, they'll get that. And so he actually goes to an artificial scent chemist, and they make a poo flavor that they put in with the ice cream, and people are like, oh, it's coming out like shit out of the thing. And the owner of the restaurants or the yogurt place is like, I don't know about this.
Did they call it 2 girls, 1 yogurt cup?
I want to say that joke was made in some way, like in a very quiet way, but that might have been.
I want to say it too. I don't know if it's true.
But I don't know if that's just because you're always there on my shoulder watching things with me, whether you're there or not, Dave.
All right.
I'm always watching.
All right.
My something cool is my son wanted to watch Stranger Things. He's never watched anything scary or even remotely non-childish. And I was pretty sure my wife would say no. So I just watched it with him anyway, like at 6 a.m. or whatever. The first episode.
6 a.m. They're getting up and sneaking it in. They're also sneaking out during shop class, going to the bathroom and watching Stranger Things with the guys in leather jackets.
And shooting heroin.
Yeah.
So we watched the first episode and he was kind of bored. He doesn't really like stuff that isn't funny. He doesn't like scary stuff. He doesn't like dramatic stuff. So yeah, I have a feeling he's not really my kid.
Ethan has a new favorite movie. Any guesses as to what it is?
Is it the Shaq one?
No.
And I'm awesome and you're not. Wasn't that Shaq? No, that was The Rock.
That was The Rock. Yeah.
A Serbian film?
Yes, that's it. No, in all seriousness, it's The Hangover. He's seen it 4 times now. He loves that movie.
Well, he should stop at the first one then.
Well, no, it's true. We've given him the opportunity to see the other ones, and he's like,
you want this ruined for you?
Yeah, he's like, no, I'll stick with one. He knows it's a winner.
All right, so you want to talk about why we're doing these books and what it means for the average author? Like, everybody's got some. I mean, I'm finding. I guess I'll broach it a little bit first. I'm finding that it's a really nice addition in the. I'm not doing. It's in addition, not because in a way. I mean, it kind of is. I guess it's technically because of something, but I'm not not writing fiction. And in the afternoons or whatever, it's nice to be able to just sit down and bang out something that is totally different. So from a palette clearing perspective, I mean, is that what you guys are finding?
Yeah, well, I think we all 3 of us are writing nonfiction right now. And that's a first. Actually, it's not a first. Dave came up writing nonfiction. Dave used to be a journalist. And when I met Dave, he had his Blogger Dad site and I had my Writer Dad site and we were blogging buddies. So it's true.
We should get t-shirts to say that.
Yeah.
We really
or bracelets.
But we would. He would guest on my site, I would guest on his site, and we would comment on each other's shit all the time. And that's the way it was back in 2008, before we started our own site together. So we do have experience writing nonfiction and writing directly to an audience. The difference now is that over the last 7 years, we've really been much more interested in fiction, obviously, and Dave exclusively so. In this time, Johnny and I have written, a bunch of stuff. Dave's name is on Write, Publish, Repeat, but just to be clear, that was just us putting his name on there.
I wrote something in there.
Did you?
Yeah, he wrote the typography stuff. I think some cover stuff too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I wrote a couple.
Have you read it, Dave? Have you read the finished book?
No, I didn't even read. You guys could have changed all my words to Hitler,
we
and
did.
I would know.
So we wrote that. We wrote Fiction Unboxed. We wrote the one with all the writing advice, Iterate and Optimize. Is that it? Besides the new stuff? Until the new stuff?
Sounds
about right.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't ticking them off, so I don't know. But ish.
Like 5 titles. Plus we did a bunch of stuff for Medium. Plus, I mean, we ran the education department. So the nonfiction stuff has been very firmly, Johnny and myself, and we have balance.
We formulated it for things like we formatted it for like the Story Shop podcast and those other specialty podcasts that we did. Like we've taught this material in some organized way a lot.
If you think about boot camp, our outline to run that 10-hour boot camp was a book, right? Like it was. So there has been a lot of nonfiction on our plate, but now it just fits in more naturally. It's not this thing that's like, because when I was doing it, it dominated. It meant that I wasn't doing any fiction. And then when I stepped back, Johnny kind of took over and closed it down, but it came in place of his fiction for the large part. And Dave, the whole time for 7 years, has been like this, when it comes to fiction, just holding a cross in front of us, not wanting anything to do with it. And now the company is just a better place creatively, where it's not taking the place of our fiction. And so it doesn't come from a place of obligation, like a vacation with Dave's family. It's more something that we all want to do and are excited about doing. And so the one that I just finished a book about writing fast, and Johnny just finished.
What's that book called?
How to Write Fast. It's called How to Write Fast, and it's available now.
Yeah, it just went on sale 2 days ago when we're recording, and people seem to have really liked it.
And Johnny's writing one that's coming out next week. And what's the name of that one, Johnny?
10X author, level up or be left behind, I think is the tagline.
And then Dave's
level up or die.
Dave's writing one on fear, which I just finished editing today, and is excellent. And they all have kind of interesting stories, and we have a lot more coming. But it's the idea of how we're fitting them into our lives. And this probably won't surprise any of you listening, that Johnny's is A-B. So Johnny has an A project, which is his fiction, and nonfiction is his B project. And he's compartmentalized that a little bit and doing it at different times of the day. For me, they are palate cleansers, same as Johnny, but I work on them in between. So I like to do fiction and then nonfiction. But the rough draft, now the How to Write Fast book, except for a part of it, was a little bit different. I did just write that because I wrote it fast, yes, and we wanted to turn it quickly too. I wanted to do it before I was on vacation. But almost all of the nonfiction that I've been writing, and there's, I want to say about 200,000 words of nonfiction so far, is mostly in a pile and ready to be edited, because I do it all dictating. Almost all of my nonfiction is dictating, because I like dictating now. It's part of my daily flow. I'm at like 400 some days in a row. No, that's not true. I don't know how many days in a row it is actually, but it's significant, and it's easier for my brain to do nonfiction than fiction, at least right now, on dictating, and so that's the way I'm getting a lot of those words. And then Dave, it's been in place of. So Dave doesn't write fiction in the morning and then write nonfiction in the afternoon. That's not how his brain works. He needs to, this is the project I'm working on right now, and when I'm done, I'll work on another one. So we're all approaching it in different ways, but we're all finding the space to do it, and it's coming from a good space. And I think that for all of us, it's helping us be better creators. I think Dave got something from writing his nonfiction, and I know Johnny and I always do.
Well, it was also good because I was between the fiction things, like I was either editing or an outline, I don't remember, whatever I did for you. I was waiting for an outline that I was supposed to start writing the book on. So this was between that, because that wasn't ready yet. So I started on that, and I did like that between books sort of thing. It was a good change of pace, because writing fiction and writing nonfiction are very different for me.
Very different muscles, and it was really nice to read your nonfiction voice, Dave, because
did you read it like Gilbert Gottfried?
No, I didn't. I know you want me to.
Yes,
but no, there's like this real. You have such a warmth to what you're saying, and the way you say it.
Are you sure that was my?
Yes. And I would also
it's
say
all warm and brimstony, like hell. The fires of hell.
It is warm, and it's really I don't know. It's friendly despite talking about. It's honest. That's what it is. You can really feel your honesty. Dave's an honest writer, and it's nice to get him out of fiction and into nonfiction where he's sharing. It really feels like he's sharing. And
can Dave's tagline be "Warm like Mordor"?
I like that. But Dave, there was definitely resistance for you writing this ahead of time. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for the most part, I feel like I've been resistant to writing advice because I feel like
imposter syndrome. Who am I?
Well, yeah, it's like I think like, okay, well, the things I write, like it's easier for me to write fiction because, yeah, I don't write as well as Stephen King or Clive Barker, but I feel I write close enough. Like I still write a good story, but for writing advice, I feel like if I want writing advice, I'm going to go to one of those guys or some other author that I love, not me, because I don't know. I don't feel accomplished enough, I guess. I don't know, even though we've sold friggin' millions of books, I suppose. But
so what was the difference? Because not only did you do this, by the time you were actually starting on it, you were doing it with a smile. I mean, you don't do anything with a smile.
No, it was half a smile.
But I could tell.
A grimace.
There's a couple of moments in the draft where I can tell you weren't feeling that chapter, or you were real unsure about something, or it always came down to value. Is there enough value in this chapter, or is it masturbatory?
Yes.
And if you felt that, I felt it. And so, like, there's 2 chapters that are just gone from the book because
awesome. So it's even shorter now.
It is shorter. Yeah. Well, no, it's not shorter because I wrote a little bit in places to thicken it up.
Okay.
But yes, there's those parts, they didn't get expanded. They just got cut because there's not enough there.
Yeah.
But the parts where you're feeling it, those full chapters, they're great. And there's an urgency to it where Dave's like, I'm going to share this, and there is value. And when Dave, I saw this several years ago, 10 years ago almost, but I didn't know Dave well. I didn't have the context that I do now to understand.
Can we ever really know Dave well?
No, I don't think so. But there used to be times when, because we did all our freelancing together. Like, my job was to bring in the gigs and then, farm some out to Dave, do whatever I could, and, we split the money. And there were times when I'd give him assignments and then I'd have to rewrite them. And there wasn't anything wrong with the writing itself. It was a feeling in the writing. It was, this is bullshit copy and I don't believe anything I'm writing. and you can do bullshit copy. Like, I fed my family with bullshit copy for a couple of years. You can write SEO, you can write blog copy, whatever that really does connect with the reader, but you have to be convincing, at least of yourself, while you're writing it. Because if you don't believe it,
I'm not good at lying to myself.
Yeah, it doesn't come across. So the point is, this is nonfiction that didn't have Dave's usual resistance in it. There are a couple of points, but they were really easy to identify and just eliminate. By and large, it was Dave almost, you could feel him understanding himself a little on the page. And there are stories in there that if you listen to the show for any length of time, you may have heard those stories before, but now they're given context and meaning as to how it affects his flow and his work. And I would argue, or at least imagine, that Dave is a better, more sensible, more grounded writer from the day he finished this book, because he understands his process a little better, which that's what I get from reading nonfiction for sure, but it's also what I get from writing nonfiction. So one of my drivers to do these projects is because I want to help, yes, I can write 1 million words a year, and it's not even that hard really anymore. And that's awesome, but it's more awesome if I can help other authors do that. And my main primary goal is always to help the authors in our studio first. But as I'm teaching them, as I'm writing curriculum for them, it's for everybody too.
Well, I think the further point is, right? Don't take this message. All authors should write and sell nonfiction authoring books. Like that's very much not the message. Yeah, it's we are doing that. But the larger value is in the process of writing it. So actually, so let me mention this before I make my point. So we all the books that we've mentioned and others that we will mention, we do have a nonfiction notification mailing list to find out more about those books and notified when new ones are coming out, because we discount them right away. So that's at sterlingandstone.net/stone table, because Stone Table is the new line of the nonfiction line. So sterlingandstone.net Stone Table to get notified. But the larger point is that we've talked a little bit about books as therapy, and it isn't that, but I think it's kin to it. It's a little like if you don't write a book for about writing, and you write about something else, or you just write in a journal, or you write marketing copy for your business, or you write jacket copy, there's so much value in clarifying. So Sean mentioned the 10X author book that I'm writing, but I'm also writing another one right now called The Fiction Formula, which is going to be a follow-up. It's the sequel to Write, Publish, Repeat. It's what Write, Publish, Repeat didn't cover and what has happened since, and not in an iterate and optimize deeper down the rabbit hole way, but for the average author. It's the sequel. But that is fun for me to write, just because it's allowing me to clarify the things that we've learned over the past, however many years, but also what works specifically for us. So we can talk about the process because it's craft focused, right? It's like the story. It's not as much nitty gritty of like how to pull levers and stuff, but what we've learned working with, not just with each other in varying like different ways of partnering, but also our studio of writers and everything we learned when we were doing the Smarter Artists, talking to other writers. And so that's really satisfying in a way beyond like producing a product. And the book that I'm dying to get to, which I won't give the name of because it's a bit off. Yeah. It's a bit off, and I like the name, but it's more story of, it's more personal, right? Like it'll be kind of a counterpoint to a book that Sean has coming out again in this line. Can I mention the name of yours or no?
You can mention the name of mine. It's because it's coming out before The Fiction Formula even.
Right. Okay. So Sean's is called I Have an Idea, and it's sort of the story of Sterling and Stone, but lessons learned along the way and things that it's about idea generation and being a visionary, but from a personal standpoint. So mine's a counterpoint to that, but I can't do that until I finish The Fiction Formula, and I'm really excited about doing that, just because, I don't know, it doesn't even matter if anybody buys it. It's memoirish, but it feeds something.
That you have a nonfiction book waiting in the wings that you're itchy to write. I mean, that hasn't happened in the entirety of our company. So that
I've enjoyed each one as I've been writing them, but you're right, I haven't been like itchy. So like the Fiction Unboxed was a lot of fun to write because it was narrative. It felt like we were just literally telling a story.
But this is like, I don't know, there's something deeper here, which is great. I mean, that's what tells us it's time to do this and it's the right thing to do it, and we're not, forcing it in. And I Have an Idea was interesting because I didn't know what that book was going to be, actually. And we could talk about it a little more when it's closer to launch. But that was actually the book that I started after I hadn't written for a couple of years. That was the book that I started writing every day again. That was my daily writing practice book. And I wrote it in 1 month, and it was mostly just to kind of get started before I wrote fiction. And the book is nothing like what I expected it to be. So I wrote this last May 1st, 2018 is when I started. And the book was intended to be about the nature of ideas themselves and idea generation. And that's just not what that's not the book at all. Now that book does exist. It's another one that actually I'll be writing with Neve that is more about ideas themselves. But I Have an Idea ended up being something that was more, I started talking about ideas, and it very quickly became a book about Sterling and Stone. And what happened is about midway through that book, we closed the Smarter Artist side of the business. And that's
everything that wasn't books, basically. So seminars, courses, mastermind, everything.
Anything that's not a $5 book, essentially. And so that required, like, all of a sudden I was telling myself the story, And that became really important. And this is about the time also that Johnny's writing Story Solution. And so there's just like that idea of telling ourselves the right story was very prominent. So sometimes you don't really even know where these projects are going to take you, but there's tremendous value in diving in, whether you're a consumer or a creator. You know, for me, there's a lot of times where I'm reading a book, a nonfiction book specifically, and I don't necessarily know why I picked it, but it's impacted me in a very specific way. And I'm really glad not only that I'm reading it, but that I'm reading it in that time and that place. And we're hopeful that we can create content that, you know, touches people in the right way, at the right time, and in the right place, so that it really elevates their, you know, whether it's their art or their ability to create it.
I think my biggest resistance to writing nonfiction has been I don't view myself as a teacher. I have a hard time really organizing my thoughts, and you guys are really good at that, like distilling this giant thing into, you know, lessons and things that people can apply to their life. And I'm not very good at that. But this book, I mean, you got me to write it, basically framing it in a way that made me want to write it. Like I was writing.
And I promised you cookies.
Yes, and like I was writing this book to like my teenage self, really, into a very certain kind of person that I feel could get value from the book. There's a lot of people, like a lot of authors out there, where I wouldn't write a book for them because I feel like, well, they probably already know these things, and I don't know. It's not my comfort zone. I like to write about things that I feel directly and can write in a way that somebody else can't write it. So that I think that's
you absolutely delivered that with this book. It's very much a Dave book. It has some universal lessons, but it's Dave centric in a good way. It's not massive.
All about Dave.
Yeah, but I think that's our style. Like you know, we aren't going to produce dry how-to manuals. You know, and your book, so Dave's book is called Into the Darkness, and there's no part.
Is that the final title? Like I did, that was just like the working title. I don't even know what the hell we're calling.
I thought that was the sign you had above your front door.
Yeah, there were a few moments in the draft.
Abandon hope, all ye who enter.
Dave just wrote name of book when he was referencing the book. But yes, it's Into the Darkness, and okay. I don't know the tagline of it. We should brainstorm that.
The tagline should be Into the Darkness.
Dave's
follow you into the dark.
I do think that that's the kind of book that we're always going to produce, is something that is a highly personal look at whatever we're trying to teach. So, you know, How to Write Fast doesn't read like any kind of a textbook. It's not do this and do that and do that. It's very, very much based on my experience and the experience of, you know, all the people that we work with. And I think that works. You know, one of the, we've gotten some very nice emails back since the book launched a couple of days ago. And one of them came out and, you know, it's just very nice. And thank you. But the end I really liked, which was, I've always thought of myself as, you know, too female and too old for your company, right? But the book is filled with stories from people like Ninety. And Ninety was 72 at the time of writing, but Ninety, she had a birthday yesterday and is now 73. By 73, I mean 72, but the moment she turns a new age, 90 starts saying she's 1 year older. It's a thing. Anyway.
That's not interesting to anybody but us, but it is really interesting to us.
but 90 is this 73-year-old rock star writer. Like, she's amazing. And she's, you know, having 10,000 plus word days. She's more creatively vibrant and productive right now than she's ever been in her life. And a lot of it is because of our community, sure, but it's just that she's picking up new skills all the time, and she's doing it based on our experience and her experience, and not dry lists of do this, do that, because you can get those anywhere. You can Google How to Write Fast right now and come up with 1,000 different ways, you know, that are strategy 1, strategy 2, strategy 3. But by telling stories along with the experience, you're just getting something deeper and richer that will likely have a more lasting impact.
Well, I think that the bottom line with writing something that is nonfiction, whether it's a book that's going to be published, whether it's on writing or anything else, is, and this is going to sound stupid obvious, but basically having something to say. Sterling and Stone's tagline, our 6-word intro, it used to be "We make stories and smarter artists," but then it became "We change the world with story," which is actually was the tagline for Fiction Unboxed years ago. So it's like we knew it. But anything that we feel can make a positive impact on the world is something that we're going to be interested in. Probably, well, not anything, but a lot of those things are going to be our pet projects.
Lines in Manila, Johnny.
It's not. You're right. If that was a world-changing thing, I still wouldn't be into it. And it's not like we're going to take on causes, but we talked about having a phase 2, which actually got bumped back a little bit because our plans changed. But they're just bigger idea, world-changing, kind of paradigm-shifting sorts of things that don't necessarily have anything to do with writing, although some of them will. But if you have something to say, it can go onto a blog. It can go. It's the exercise is in getting it out, right? If that makes any sense at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dave, did writing this make you at all more interested in writing other kinds of nonfiction?
Yes. Specifically the book I thought I was going to write. I won't talk about that, but the book we talked about before, I thought that's what this was going to be. And then I saw the thing. I was like, oh, I wasn't prepared to write that yet. But yeah, definitely. Within, a very narrow, area, I would like to write more.
Within your area of confidence and competence, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing. I think one of the things that's different now than before too, that explains this is Dave trusts us a little more. And by trust us, I actually mean maybe trust himself and his place in all of this.
You're going to blow it. You're going to blow the long con.
But I think that, there's truth to that, because I don't think we're using different words with Dave, but he's hearing the language differently. And whether that's because he just trusts in the overall process a little more, he trusts in our ability to execute and see things through, or he trusts in his ability to have a place within all that. For whatever reason, I just think Dave is able to hear us and follow through in a way that
I feel a few things at the same time. One, I feel like we're all on the same page in a way that we weren't for a while. Two, like where I'm at in my life, improving, bettering myself. And I listen to lots of like nonfiction, self-improvement, not self-help, self-improvement stuff. And also, I don't know, just where I feel like I'm at in the things, like leaving a legacy and actually like helping other people to do things. Like I think about, my son, I think about other people that I know that, struggle with all these things that I've somehow managed to deal with and still be able to write. So I like how all of this is kind of lined up, and like I feel in a better place than I was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I think that is helping with this part of it as well. So writing these things is kind of solidifying, where I am, where my journey is at, and what I can offer.
Oh, well, that's great. Get ready to write 93 nonfiction books for next year. We're going to reinvent serialization nonfiction.
My next book is going to be How to Kill Your Partner and Get Away with It.
I think that I was sold on a lot of this a little more than I used to be when writing The Story Solution. So The Story Solution, if you haven't seen that book, is sort of about seeing yourself in your own path as a story, because life is just stuff that happens. And I think there's a quote that I think is commonly attributed to Hitchcock, that drama is life with the boring stuff cut out. And that's basically, if you're able to filter out a lot of noise and see sort of a central arc for yourself, then it's a whole, check out The Story Solution for more. But the point is that like writing as direction, as like a rudder, is something that was reinforced for me in writing that book, and writing through anything that you don't understand, that you're not clear about, that you want to focus yourself. Like when I was writing term papers in high school, I wouldn't start with a point, and I'd write to discover the point. Like when I get to the end, I'd have an argument, but I wouldn't start with one. Right. I was pantsing it. And so I think that doing this with nonfiction, no matter what form the nonfiction takes, is a way of explaining things to myself. And I think that that's why it's so interesting, why I'm so excited about the book that I mentioned, that I can't really give you the name of yet, because I think that that's going to help me to see sort of my place in a lot of different ways and through a new lens, which I think is really good.
And there's tremendous value in that. I've been going through some family shit, not my immediate Cindy, Haley, Ethan family, but my parents really. But I've been writing to myself every day about it for over a month. And
already have other plans to use it in various other ways. Like Sean's always like, how can I use it?
Yeah. We could do a great sitcom for sure. But seriously, there's several projects.
I'll help you write that one.
Will you really?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Awesome. But there's tremendous value in being able to do that. Now, some of what I wrote will be able to find other places, but a lot of it is just the value in it was getting 1,000 words a day out of my head so that I'm not thinking about those things and I could really focus on my family. We took a vacation, and we were in the same city as my parents, and I had to kind of deal with this thing. And if I didn't take the time each morning to kind of like make sure that my thoughts were out of here and over in this other place, I would ruminate, because I'm human. And I think a lot of us do that. But if we take the time to settle our feelings before moving on, it's so valuable to us as creators and to just humans. Like, I was a better father, I was a better husband, I was a better son, I was a better brother for taking the time to do that. And when I came back, I was a better leader. So I think that if you are a creator and you need your mind space to make your art, to make your money, to make your living, to make your family move, whatever, then there's value in not just spending time in your story, but spending time on yourself and figuring things out. And if you can share with somebody, all the better, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that's sort of, I don't know why we've been writing nonfiction, why we think that it's good for any writer to just sort of clear the pipes, basically. And then I would be remiss if I didn't just sort of mention what we are doing. We do. I mean, what schedule did we settle on? Like every other week, we have the Stone tablets, which are more to the point, like How to Write Fast was a Stone tablet. They're short reads that answer a specific question.
Yeah, we have one coming out every other week through the rest of the year, and then we decelerate a little bit next year. They'll come out a little slower, but there's a lot of energy.
Maybe not, because one of the things that we're finding is when we started writing these tablets, which again are these shorter reads, they're like 2-hour reads on Amazon in the category, but then we offered it to our storytellers, and we're like, I forget some of the examples, but it's like they
were immediate, yeah, and it was like, oh, we could do this and that and the other, so.
Yeah, there's like 5 books everybody wants Dave to write. There's just like quick pointed little things. So I don't know that we'll. Well, I mean, you can accept one, and
yeah, Johnny's right. We have a couple of juggernauts coming out. The fiction formula is a legit
like a big book, a big full meaty book.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that we will have an entire show dedicated. I mean, I like that Johnny just kind of dropped it as a by the way today, but it's a big book. It's a big deal, and that's at the end of the year. And we have a couple other bigger books coming out next year, both Johnny and me, Bonnie and me. There's a lot of stuff coming out. So what's out right now is, I see Lori just asked in the comments, and what's out right now is Story Solution, obviously the Smarter Artist Locker, which has everything we wrote up until this new phase 2. So there's the Smarter Artist Locker, Story Solution, How to Write Fast just came out. 10X Author is coming out next Tuesday or next Wednesday. And then 2 weeks after that, Dave's Into the Darkness will be out. Lori also asked the difference between a tablet and a regular book. And a tablet is what Johnny was just explaining. That's like a short, to the point read. How to Write Fast is like 22,000 words or something like that. So it's a couple of hours. 10X Author it's really to the point. It's an hour. It's 10,000 words. Boom, you just read that. And Dave's is about the same length as How to Write Fast. It's a couple hour read, 20-some thousand words.
But they're like one specific question, right? Like they aren't fiction formulas. How do you monetize and write good fiction?
Yeah, fiction formula is the kind of book you get in
big
print,
question,
and you underline a bunch of shit, and you keep it on your desk, and you constantly refer to it.
Or audio. I mean, we're stepping up audio too, so soon we'll have everything simultaneous release with audio.
So the bigger books are more reference. These are more exploration of ideas.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know that, because reference to me, when I think reference, I think a dictionary. I would say more like they cover a broader topic, right? Publish, repeat, and fiction formula cover like publishing, whereas How to Write Fast covered how to write fast, that sort of thing. But 10X author is kind of manifesto-ish as well, so it just depends on the book. Anyway, so if you want to know when those are coming out and get them when they're, because the first week they're cheaper, it's sterlingandstone.net/stonetable. And thanks to our live viewers today, we don't give you much interesting to do right now, but I think that we have some kind of new features coming, and I think that some of those do involve people a little bit more, which would be nice. So if you want to be on that notification list, it's sterlingandstone.net/live show, and we'll just send you reminders whenever it's on. But it's usually 3 p.m. Central Time on Fridays.
Next week we're playing Russian Roulette live.
And that's at sterlingandstone.net/SSP for the to actually watch it. That's a lot of links. Remember the Stone Table one, because that's the one where we make money /Stone Table. Do that one. The other ones are bonuses.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Johnny.
Okay. So, and you can also Venmo us at. So I was going to leave, but do you know Venmo, Dave?
What about
PayPal? Well, because like by default, it's social.
Public.
Like
it's public. Yeah, people can see everything you bought. Who you?
Why?
Paid.
Like I sent Sean Platt $30 for sex. It's right there.
I hate all.
I thought his price was $2 million.
You can turn it off, but it's on by default. You're like, what the fuck? Why with this app? Pretty soon they're going to have a credit card lotto app where you can like see if your credit cards are lucky. It's like playing bingo. You just have to send them to somebody, and then they share them with the internet.
Oh, I already did that.
Idea.
This Nigerian dude, he was really nice.
He was having trouble getting his money out of the country. Can you believe that?
Yeah, he's trying to include you in his new royal life.
Yeah, I helped him out. All right. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. And if you want Dave to submit to a worst show ever, make sure that you send him lots of email at david@sterlingandstone.net. Just harass him.
We should do a Patreon for that. We'll see.
Like a Kickstarter.
How many people actually want it?
Every time the Kickstarter gets up to $6, then we'll do a show. Just every single time. Do a big campaign.
I love it.
It's show by show though, because we're not committing to more than one.
We should do it. It should be escalating. The first show is $1. The second show is $2, and then $4, all the way to $1 million.
Perfect.
And then we can't deliver it on time.
How much pain can you take? I'm willing to pay for it.
All right. So again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Adios.
Bye. Am I sure?